everybody. This is Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric, and today we're going to take a look at Mizzou football. 3 games deep into the season, how have they looked? And is it fair to revise expectations? Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. So, 3 games into the season, Missouri's coming off a big upset win over defending champion LSU. That was preceded by a loss to Alabama and a loss to Tennessee. You know, the Alabama game, it's Alabama. You kind of knew what was going to happen going in, and the score was a lot friendlier than it could have been. I feel like if Alabama would have taken Missouri seriously, I feel like that would have been a lot worse. The Tennessee game, we were left a little discouraged by the Missouri defense, the rushing defense in particular. And then LSU happened, and Connor Bazelak kind of took full control of the offense, and Missouri has its first win of the Eliah Drinkwitz era. Now, the offense has looked pretty good. The playbook certainly is creative. I will criticize Coach Drink for a little bit of in-game strategy. Really, the first blunder that I've noticed came on the fake punt out of a timeout when you already lined up to go for it. Terrible decision in my mind. If you're gonna fake it, do it before the timeout. And coming out of a timeout, I can't think of a time you would fake a punt out of a timeout. Because the last thing the coaches will say, if the distance is close enough and the field position allows for it, last thing they'll say, watch the fake. So running a fake when they are probably looking for it is a terrible decision by Coach Drink. But like I said, that was the first real blunder as far as coaching decisions go. And the offensive playbook looks great. Running the football, I'd like to see Roundtree get the ball a little bit more. Wide receivers looked terrible the first 2 weeks, looked great with all the backups in Game 3 against LSU. Defensively, it's been okay. The defensive line got gashed on the ground by Tennessee, but they actually got a little bit of pressure against LSU. Got a couple of sacks on Miles Brennan. Linebacking core, Nick Bolton. What can you say? 36 tackles in 3 games. He's averaging 12 a game. He had the monster pass deflection on the 3rd down of the goal line stand against LSU. And then you go to the secondary. You can't ask for much more than what they've given you. You'd like to have seen an interception or 2, but frankly, they're being asked to cover for long periods of time on a lot of plays. So part of that comes from getting more sustained pressure from the defensive line. Special teams. Well, they were pretty much flawless the first 2 games. The 3rd game, Mevis missed a field goal, but that was a long field goal. That's a tough ask for a true freshman. So that one, not a lot of blame there in my mind. The 2 dropped punts, Chris Abrams' drain. That's tough. I'd have kept him in there just to show him some confidence, unless you're ready to make the change permanent to go with Jarvis Ware. But as a whole, special teams has not been a complete liability like it was under Barry Odom. So, looking forward to the rest of the season. Is it fair to revise expectations? It might be. Connor Bazelak changes this offense. It was clear in Tennessee and even more clear against LSU that Missouri has a quarterback. And, you look at the rest of the 2020 schedule going forward. Missouri is an 18.5-point favorite. At least that's what they open as, against Vanderbilt. I think that line's a little generous to Missouri, but Missouri should win that game. That put them at 2-2. But then you've got a trip to Florida, which is a tough ask, followed by a home game with Kentucky. Then Georgia comes to town. That's probably the hardest game on the schedule. It would be a much bigger upset than this past week against LSU. But then Missouri finishes with 3 games at South Carolina, home for Arkansas, and in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Now, if you look at those, Vanderbilt, I would say you should win. Florida, that's real tough ask. Home against Kentucky, that might be a complete toss-up game. I think it looks more winnable than when the season started. Georgia, like I said, it would be the upset of the year. But similar to Kentucky, at South Carolina looks a little more winnable. Arkansas is tricky. They should have beat Auburn. They did get their first win against Mississippi State. They should be sitting at 2-1. So Missouri's going to have to take that game seriously for the first time in a few years. And then the season finale against Mississippi State, who knocked off LSU and looked great. They then lost to Arkansas and lost to Kentucky. The Kentucky game, they did not score, anything offensively. They had 2 points. They got a safety. That's it. So, I originally predicted 2-8. David, in our prediction video, predicted 5-5, and frankly, he looks smarter than me right now. Missouri is 1-2. Let's just say win Vanderbilt. That's 2-2. You got Florida and Georgia, almost certainly losses. I know Florida lost to A&M, but the offense is prolific. Kyle Trask looks good. Georgia might be the best defense in America. So let's call those 2 losses. After that, the remaining 4 games, Kentucky, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, none of those look really scary. So that's 4 that you could reasonably call toss-ups, I think, at least at this point. If you go 2-2 in those games, that's 4 wins. I think that's what most fans were considering that they were hoping for, maybe even their ceiling. I didn't think 4 wins was possible. I thought 3 wins if something happened that was a little quirky. But I'm doing this video because there is optimism with Mizzou football for the first time in a long time, right? If Missouri's sitting here 0-3, I'm not making this video because everyone's right where they were expected to be. And there's not a whole lot of hope for Missouri, at least not for this year. But that LSU win, that put some energy into the program. So what do you think about Missouri's season going forward? Has your mind been changed? Let us know in the comments. What do you think Missouri's record is going to be? Thanks for watching. See you next time.